the issues at the moment are twofold, really. So in the last 10 years, we've had to cut everything back because of austerity, and there's really nothing left to cut back. What we're faced with at the moment is that everything is going up in price. So we've got general inflation that's making everything more expensive, from paper to food to glue sticks, and you name it, it's going up in price. Then energy prices in particular are skyrocketing. And then we've got pay rises that have been approved for all the staff at the school, teaching staff and non-teaching staff, which, by the way, are really well deserved and actually still constitute a pay cut. But they are not being funded centrally by the government. So funding wise, the DfE are saying that more money is going into schools, and they have committed more money into schools, but we're still getting less money than we did 10 years ago. And the pay rises in particular are just crippling schools' budgets and sending everybody into deficit, because we couldn't plan for this eventuality. We didn't know about these high rates of inflation. We didn't know about the energy prices skyrocketing, and we particularly didn't know that the pay rises were going to come through. So funding is going like this, and costs are going up. It's a perfect storm. Schools just don't have anything more that they can cut back. That's the real issue. What will go next are the core things that schools provide, which is around teaching staff, teaching assistants, which is going to severely affect the quality of education.
You've had to bring in family members to, as you put it, cover over the cracks, haven't you? Can you tell me about kind of the pressures and, the things you've had to do to keep things going?
So we're having issues with recruitment and retention. So the cost pressures are affecting our staff because they all need to earn more money because everything's going up for them. So their rents, their mortgages, their petrol, all those sorts of things. So because teacher and teaching assistant pay hasn't kept pace with those things, they're now having to look elsewhere for better paid employment. So I've got teaching assistants and other members of staff leaving to go and work in supermarkets, which can pay more than a teaching assistant. And what's happened, I think, over the last 10 years or so is that the expectations on teaching assistants have risen quite dramatically, but the pay hasn't. So in the past, you perhaps would have taken on a teaching assistant position, not for the pay, but you'd also have a lot of kind of goodwill because you're working for your school, you're working for a community. What the situation that we're in now is that the goodwill is you need to earn money to pay your mortgage. So goodwill doesn't count for anything in this situation. So I've been faced with a situation this year where I haven't been able to recruit cleaners and lunchtime staff. And what I had to do at the start of this term was to put a plea out to parents, say, nobody wants to be a cleaner, no one wants to be a mealtime assistant. Can anybody do it? Nobody could. So I had to think really creatively. So I phoned my mum and said, Mum, I know you're not doing anything at the moment. Do you fancy coming in and being a mealtime assistant? And she said, yes. She also said, are there any other areas that you're struggling with? I said, yeah, can't get cleaners. So she said, why don't you ask your sister-in-law? And she's not so busy with her job at the moment. Perhaps she'll come in and help. So they've both been in school. And it is a really bonkers situation, isn't it, Andrew, when I have to ask my family members to come and fill positions at the school. It really just doesn't make sense. And a lot of what I'm having to do at the moment is to devote my time to generating income for the school to keep the quality of education the same here, which is not acceptable, really. I shouldn't be focusing on those things in my job.
You very much decided to, raise the profile of the difficulties. There aren't that many teachers coming forward, and there is a kind of reluctance to do this. And is that a frustration? And has that allowed this situation to get to what some people in the industry have called a crisis point?
So my take on this is, I think at the beginning of austerity, everybody felt that they needed to shoulder the burden that the country was kind of faced with. So nobody was asking for pay rises at that point. But what has happened very slowly over time is that the teacher pay in particular and leadership pay has dropped 25% in the last 10 years. And what I believe is that the teachers have had such bad press that they feel they can't speak out because they don't feel that the parents and the communities are going to feel that they deserve a pay rise. So there's this perception, I think, particularly among certain MPs, that teachers get paid too much and they have too much holiday. But that's complete nonsense. Teachers when you think of comparable graduate professions, I think teaching ranks as like 12th out of 13th most desirable occupation of similar occupations. We need our best graduates coming in to teach our children. It shouldn't be seen as something that's kind of like a leftover profession that you do if you can't do anything else. Our jobs are so important. You know, the future of our economy is around how good our education system is. So if we want growth, if we want children who are skilled, academic, and can grow our country, we need to invest in our schools and we need to invest in our teachers. But they feel, I think, they can't speak out because of the perception that they get too much money and that they have too much holiday. That's not true. I think actually, if I work out my kind of hourly wage and how much I have to work in holidays and how much I have to work extra during the week, I don't actually get as much holiday time as everybody thinks. So yeah, and I think if anybody knows a teacher, then you'll know that isn't true as well. But we need to get the message out there that teachers should be properly paid, and we need to be recruiting and retaining our best teachers.
So, in fact, I do know quite a number of teachers, and often you find at weekends they can't come out because they're busy doing work. What's kind of the mood in the industry at the moment? The kind of anecdotal conversations you have with, you know, fellow people within the industry.
So the mood in the industry at the moment is really quite gloomy. So I think it's twofold. So first of all, everybody is feeling that there's way too much pressure on them. Okay, the expectations on schools have grown so much because the services that used to support schools have just completely disappeared. So schools have become everything to everyone. You know, we're social workers, we're nurses, we're citizens advice bureau. We're not just teachers anymore. And that's put enormous strain on all the staff. We're coming out of a pandemic that people seem to have forgotten about, which has caused enormous strain in family life and in pupil life. That's added to the needs that schools are facing. So everybody is feeling the pressure they're getting from parents, from government, from Ofsted, to try to catch up, to try to support everybody, and it's just overcooking the system. So first of all, everybody feels overcooked. The second part of this is that everybody is getting actually, I think, quite cross now. As they're speaking to colleagues, I haven't actually ever heard them talk so strongly about the need to sort out the funding and the pay situations in schools. So I think it has got to the point now where people are going to start voting soon on their strike ballots. Nobody wants to have a day out of school because we know the impact it has on families and we know the impact it has on children. But I think it is going to come to the point where we have to make this government understand they need to do something to make sure schools are properly funded because we are completely in crisis.
And you personally, you're taking this forward, aren't you? You started a petition. Tell me about the petition, and has it been supported well so far?
Yeah, so I've been able to talk in the media about the issues, and what I really need to do is to get the politicians talking about it in Westminster. So I've started a petition which basically says that no school should be a deficit at the end of this financial year, and asking the Treasury to actually look at the funding that schools are getting and going beyond what they've already promised and the energy relief scheme. Because what schools are saying really clearly is that is not enough. So this needs to be debated in Parliament because it is about the future generations getting the education they deserve. And if this government want a high quality education, they are going to have to pay for it. The petition only went up at the weekend, and we've already got, I think, 4,500 signatures in just a couple of days. So the response so far has been amazing, but I need to get to 100,000. So anyone that's listening, please just Google it, school funding challenges, petition, sign it, share it with as many people as you can, please, and let's get this debated in Parliament.